lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name's Ryan, and today I'm going to be talking about a book that was long overdue for me to read, and that's Orion by Walter Simonson. I'm a huge Jack Kirby fan. I love the Fourth World stuff. I love the New Gods especially, and Orion was like one of my favorite characters. I loved when he was in Grant Morrison's JLA with Big Barda. I thought that was awesome. Awesome additions. Walter Simonson needs no introduction, man. I mean, just complete legend in comic books. Probably best known, I would say, for his Thor run, right? Like, so I think it's kind of interesting. You know, it's a natural progression for him to have worked on Thor, which dealt with Thor and the Asgardians, and then to jump into Fourth World stuff with Orion, which many people have said was, the Fourth World was just an extension of Asgard, right? It was the next iteration post what would be Ragnarok, and now is like the new gods, right? The new stuff. I don't know why this book eluded me for so long, especially being a fan of all three of those things that I just mentioned. And I didn't want to jump in crazy. I'm not saying I didn't think I would like the book, but I figured I'll just buy the first issue and see where I go from there. And I'm happy and sad to say that I loved it, and I'm sad because I don't have the next issue to read right away. So I probably should have just picked up a trade, or I should have picked up a stack of these books. But I was going through some back issues, and this book just popped up. It was the only issue of the series, just randomly in that box, and I'm like, okay, that's a sign. I gotta grab it. And I was not disappointed at all. This book is so good. I love the cover by Simonson. And even this, an epic for the new millennium. This is 2000, guys. This is the year 2000. This is 23 years ago that this book came out. I love the opening scene. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies. That's the name of this arc. And I like that. We'll see it at the end, but like the next title for the next issue is really good too. And we're just ramping up. We're getting into this Midwest, middle of summer, driving in there. Small little town in Nebraska, 1,600 people. And when we see all these kids just lying on the side of the road, really odd. But then as the car pulls up, all of a sudden they're playing soccer. And, oh, hey, man, how's it going, blah, blah, blah. And then the car speeds off and the ball just bounces off and the kids drop. So you're already getting an inkling, like, what the hell's going on in this town? Very weird. So this is a very slow burn as we're getting into the story. But then as the car's pulling up, we see this guy all white in his eyes. And then boom, next panel, we see the color of his eyes take place. Oh, good morning. Good afternoon, guy. Filling up gas. And then we see right as he's like driving away, the guy's got the blank stare in his face again. So what's going on? Have no clue. Now we're at a diner. A little interaction with these guys. Takes a sip of the coffee, and then boom, collapses to the ground. So what the hell's going on? No clue, right? We got no clue what's going on. So there's something up with this town. And then we see as a cop pulls up, the waitress is like flagging him off as this dude's getting carried to the back. Like, hey, guys, hurry up, get away. And, oh, hey, officer, blah, blah, blah. And, little interaction. Makes this little comment to this lady as it's going off. And then as the cops drive away, we see this dude all tied up with ropes, and we see the people from the diner. We got a hatchet, a butcher knife, and a saw. And we're 5 pages in, and we haven't even touched the Fourth World stuff or anything with Orion. And then, again, now we're in Metropolis with, if you're a DC head, you know the name. So Detective Turpin was very prevalent, right? Like, he appeared in the Golden Age in the Detective Comics issue, but then this iteration first appeared in New Gods number 5. So, we're getting a little bit of that connection. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I am super versed in every single storyline of the New Gods stuff. I have the Absolute editions, so I've gone back and read some of that, but I'm not like a encyclopedic knowledge with it, but I do know this character. I remember him from the beginning of the New Gods run, and so like he's sensing something, right? Then we go over and the description of Apocalypse against New Genesis and the bright against the dark. This writing, especially when Walt's writing about the gods, it's got such a like elegant cadence to it. Like the poetic writing and the dialogue or the narration is just, it's on a different level than we were seeing prior to that. Well, not to say that that wasn't good writing, but he definitely kind of has a different element to his writing when he's doing this. And we got Light Ray, one of the new gods, talking to Tigra. He's looking for Orion. No, he's nowhere to be found. And what did you tell him? And this look of Orion's a big boy, right? Now the parentage is coming into question. So I haven't read the John Byrne stuff, and in the back of this issue, Walt kind of mentions it a little bit about dealing with whether or not Orion was really Darkseid's son, right? Like, because in the comic books that Jack Kirby did, we talk about Orion and Mr. Miracle being switched at birth to broker a peace treaty. So Mr. Miracle grew up on Apocalypse, and Orion grew up on New Genesis. But then he finds out he's Darkseid's son. And that was one of the main things that kept Orion wanting to take him down, right? And so now in this issue, we're seeing that no, he wasn't Darkseid's son. And it's, it's her son. He needs, basically he needs to know, we need to tell him what's going on. And it tells him, why don't you just get out of here? I'll have no further intercourse with idiots. And, I love this. Something I've been talking about on the channel for probably since the beginning. We don't get enough thought balloons in comics. I love it. I think it's a good tool to use in comics. It's something I guess you could do in film, but it's different. It's not the same as you do in comics. And she, talks about Orion fulfilling his destiny from the man who ripped her from him, right? Then we jump in. I absolutely love this. We get Highfather, Darkseid, Orion with his mask off, and we got Light Ray in all four corners, and we're seeing him. He's traveling in space. He's going against the parademons, and right here, this is what I'm talking about. The writing, the depth of space, a long way from New Genesis and her dark sister world, but the reach of the gods is wide. Their enemies almost infinite. And Orion's he doesn't understand why they're so far from home, and he great action scenes of Orion taking them out. Get some Kirby crackle up in there in the background. I love the panel borders right here. And so now Orion's he's questioning his parentage. He grew up thinking he's gone years thinking that he was Darkseid's son, and now he's seeing that what he thought he knew was a lie. And again, we get to see the source wall, and far beyond the fields we know, at the edge of the last frontier where all roads end, the traveler confronts only mysteries, the unfathomable mysteries of the source. To this unplace has Orion come, to speak with the memory of the departed. Love the way the lights are coming through their eyes. We see Highfathers become part of the wall. So again, I haven't read all of it, so he doesn't know where to turn. He knows that this, and this is where we get it. You don't have to have read the previous Fourth World stuff to read this book. I mean, I definitely think you should. I mean, there's no reason. I mean, why wouldn't you pick up Jack Kirby stuff? It's phenomenal. It's great. As much as I wish that the coloring matched more of how it was on newsprint, those absolute editions are still beautiful. Getting to see Kirby's double page spreads oversized is amazing. So now, I said, he's questioning his parentage, and how his mother told him that wasn't true, and that talking about her marriage was arranged would have killed her, but she didn't want to die, so she told Darkseid she was pregnant. But it was really a captain of his personal guard that was the father, and even saying he did unspeakable things to me. He's my mom wants him dead, and now he's gonna go take him on. The only problem here is he never, he talks about never doubting himself or his warrior's heart, but now that he's not Darkseid's son, am I truly the god I thought I was? Only one knows the truth behind these mysteries. It's time we talked. And he sets off for Apocalypse. Darkseid's not there. We have Lady Justine, who's going to send the hordes of parademons to take out Tigra. Because now the information's starting to spread, right? her story, her lie is the unraveling of the truth, or so we're led to believe that that's the truth. And she's worried. She's like, if she fails, fingers point right at Desaad, Darkseid's right arm. And so like she's like they're all backstabbing each other, right? And she wants to be on Darkseid's in his favor and be on his be his right hand man, so to speak. Then we get back to Earth, and we see Darkseid. So he's controlling this town. Some shit's going down. It's on the news, right? Like they're shooting at like a bunch of crazy shit just goes down in here. I won't get too into it, but now we're seeing like what Turpin was saying, like that they're back. So Darkseid has a hand in this little town and what's going on there. Orion makes it to Apocalypse. And again, we get another cool battle with the Parademons and Orion breaking in. I love this line too. I just have to call this out. You would have done better to remember that old adage, a still tongue makes a happy life. Just phenomenal, dude. Like love hearing these sound effects, the ping, ping, ping. Like that's the mother box working. Simonson did Kirby proud with this book, man. I'm telling you. And then we see somebody get awoken from their slumber. And who is it? It's Calabac. And we see them going at it. And he even calls it, because Calabac is Darkseid's son as well. And Orion's like, I seek Darkseid, not you, half-brother. Not from what I've heard, right? But hey, Orion still takes his ass down and then, flies away as he's going to go look for Darkseid as he realizes that he's on Earth. And as we get, Calabac laughing as Orion goes because he wants to have Apocalypse for himself. And we see the little town. And again, like I said, For Amber, Waves of Grain. I absolutely love the titles of these issues. So good. This, if you have the single issue, this is why I'm glad I picked up the single issue, because you'd miss these in trade. This letter from Walt Simonson talking about the influence that Kirby's Fourth World had on him, where he was kind of down on superhero comics. And then Kirby comes out with this stuff, the Jimmy Olsen, New Gods, Mr. Miracle, all that stuff, all that good Fourth World stuff. And, that kind of brought Simonson back. Imagine if that doesn't exist. Imagine if he doesn't get brought into it. But what is also interesting is he talks about the state of comics. About comics until recently was not primarily a collectible experience, but a reading one. Bought by readers who loved them because they loved stories told in a medium where words and pictures are combined as nowhere else, and whose only limits are quite literally those of imagination. Now we live in the residue of endless #1 issues, miniseries, crossovers, multiple covers, holographic tip-ins, jerk shots. Remember those? Defined for me by a young freelancer as big pinup drawings of characters designed to appeal to the jerks in the audience. And a corporate mentality that all too frequently believes that the business model for publishing ought to be television. If a comic doesn't find an audience in 3 or 4 issues, it's history. That alone, it's so crazy to read that, because that is just as true today as it was 23 years ago when Walt Simonson wrote that. But I have to say at the end, which I think is funny. So he also mentions, the rest of like Kirby and the Fourth World stuff. And this is where he mentions how John Byrne was doing, the Fourth World book himself, and how he kind of left it open-ended for Walt in terms of the parentage of Orion. But this part, I have of course suggested above that endless #1 issues are part of the problem. You hold in your hands a new #1 issue. The irony has not escaped me. I just love that. So if you haven't read this book, if you're like me and you just, for whatever reason, were taking your time, knew about the book, but didn't pick it up, if you take one thing away from this video, please go pick up Orion. Go pick up the trades if you can, the single issues. I know I'm going to be picking up the rest of this series. It was so effing good, and I can't wait to see what else Walt Simonson does with this run. And while you're at it, make sure you follow us on social media. All the links are down below. Hit the subscribe button so you're notified every time a new vid drops. And on that note, I'm out.